Something changed in me when I arrived in Tanzania, East Africa, and it wasn't subtle at all. On the second night, I found myself walking down a very dark street. I'm in a major city, but it's still a dark street. So the contrast is apparent already. And while I'm walking down this dark street, I'm looking for just something to snack on. And I'm not too far from my guest house. So I figured it would be an easy walk. But I slowly and get lost. I make a couple of turns and I kind of get lost. Not only lost in where I was, but lost in my doubts and fears and the overthinking about the whole situation. As I'm walking, I'm seeing silhouettes of people passing me by and coming toward me. So the whole situation is very foreign. Now, the strangest thing about all of this is not that I was lost, it was that I signed up for this and I had made the decision only 1 week prior to coming. Both of these are behaviors that I had grown to learn to avoid. So I first came to Tanzania from very, very freezing cold Midwest United States a few months ago. And once I got here, everything was just a total shock. Like the weather was a total shock, a good shock. The infrastructure was very different. There was a huge contrast with a lot, as you could imagine. Even coming out of the airport, I have a Bolt driver, which is an Uber equivalent for here, and even that major contrast. I'm conversing with the driver, and the driver immediately goes into political talk, even though his English is very minimal, very difficult. He should, in my opinion, kept it simple for his case. But he dove in right away, and even him, I saw right away signs of a rougher life. So I get to my area where I'd be living, and it was another shock. Again, we're in the main city, but this area, everything looked, from my point of view, run down. And where I'm from, that that from a place that looked like that, from where I'm from, you would probably avoid. But that was my guest house. That was what I signed up for. That's what I booked. So everything right from the beginning is intimidating. So once I get to the guest house and get inside and began talking to manager, the manager is very polite. He's well spoken. He speaks English. He's very helpful. Uh, Relatively young guy, great character, great enthusiasm, and that immediately calmed me down. Everything shifted. A lot of my doubts and fears dissipated. And one of the next people that I met inside was another foreigner, an older white foreigner who seemed to be just very, very comfortable, even over comfortable with everything that was going on in that guest house and in the city. Things that kind of made me double take. He didn't he wasn't concerned about him at all, and in fact he was like he always would say, Z, calm down. So the contrast from how I came in and to after light had began being shown on everything made a huge difference. One of the biggest shocks or contrasts after my arrival was transportation. And a very common transportation in Tanzania are it's an application called Bolt, their version of Uber, and I took a lot of motorcycle rides. I would pay for motorcycle rides, which was a huge shock. It took a lot of getting used to, particularly for me because in my country, U.S., this you don't do this, and I hadn't ridden a motorcycle in going on a decade now, and it was a huge readaptation curve for me, and let alone the intense traffic. Intense for me because it's not what I'm accustomed to. So that was a huge learning curve or adaptation curve because it wasn't learning. I had done it before, but just it had been a while. And the other major thing was people opportunistically selling and the aggressiveness of selling things. And I'm particularly talking about being approached and someone being continuing on being aggressively pursuing you to get a sale complete. But I realize it's a different environment, different economy, different relationship with time and opportunities, and that was an adaptation that I had to make and understand and be more compassionate about. But the evolution, the change was very, very real. So for those few weeks in Dar, I hung out with the other foreigner, and he filled me in on things. He was quite happy to do so. He's an older guy, and through conversing with him, I learned a few things that didn't quite make the internet or my internet search. Which, if they did, I probably would not have come. But I ended up being glad I missed him because my overall experience was quite good and quite positive. But it was time to leave the city because it wasn't my thing. I I'm a nature person. If you've been watching my channel, you know that. And uh, through talking to the manager, he happened to be from a city that was quite natural, and he gave me references and he explained a lot about it. So I took him up upon his reference. I ended up going to Moshi, deciding to go to Moshi. So I went to the bus station hub, and while there, it was quite chaotic and quite difficult. There was a lot of obstacles that I just was not ready for, even though I've traveled a lot through my life. But it was quite a shock and surprise, even still. There, there was plenty of middlemen that are pretending to work there, and they are just basically trying to get a cut of the money and inflate the price. And uh, it's quite unregulated. And even if you get to the proper ticket booth, because everyone has a lot, not everyone, but a lot of people have agendas, and they won't necessarily tell you the right thing. They'll tell you what they want to tell you so that you can kind of do what they are leading you to do. But you get to buy your ticket, and even there you have to negotiate, and the prices can vary widely and wildly. So even with that, you got to kind of know. And if you don't have like a buddy, and if you can't speak Swahili, or if you don't have my buddy was Chat GPT, and that's what I had to get references. And even then, you have to play the role and act confident and act like you know. But eventually, I got that done, and it took a few hours to get done, and it was quite annoying because I had to tell people to go away over and over. But eventually, I got it done. I got my ticket. Everything worked out. I got a decent price. Well, to me, it was decent. And that night, I ended up in Moshi. I was trying to get there. I intentionally went to the station so that I would arrive there early in the morning, but it didn't work out that way. I arrived like after midnight, so we're already on the wrong foot. So I'm in Moshi. It's It's completely dark in this little town, this city, and there's no one out. I'm at the station. There's like a couple people in the station. Most of them are asleep, and I got like 100 pounds of stuff that I'm carrying, and I just don't know what to do. My phone, the cellular coverage went out, and it was just a really difficult situation. And fortunately for me, I was able to talk to a person that gave me a ride. I negotiated with them, and it worked out. I ended up getting to probably the best accommodation or hotel of my entire stay out of like eight places I had stayed at, and that was my first accommodation in Moshi. Moshi was nice, but it wasn't without issues. See, I love being in the sun, and I love the effects of it. If you've been around my channel, you know. But in Moshi, um, and yeah, I dress accordingly. So in Moshi, that was a little bit of an issue because people there are quite conservative. They pretty much cover their entire bodies everywhere you go, in most cases. And me, I'm a minimalist. I just wear what I need to get by for the situation that I'm in, and of course that gets you stares. So I had to become okay with that. But the stares were pretty much curiosity, though initially I could not tell if there was something else. And the other thing was the strong religious presence while I was there. And what I mean by that is, or the part that I caught easily was the loud church bells and loud music, or in mosques also. And it's freely done and it's super loud. But when in Rome, do as the Romans, so they say. And I'm a guest, so I gotta live by guest rules. And my chemistry with the people, I thought it would be stronger, and it wasn't weak. I'm not saying that it was weak, and I really tried hard to look into everyone's eyes and see myself and see the similarities, and make connections like this. And I even had uh, fantasies that I was just quite content with leaving as fantasies about you know things, one thing or another. But I kept things. I engaged only to where I was comfortable and where I would stay comfortable even after I leave. I say all that to say the connections with people were they were a longer range, not perfect, but not bad either. Changing environments doesn't just change your experience; it changes what you feel comfortable in. It changes how you perceive things. It's basically like a download. The way I came in is definitely not the way I came out. And the experience was transformational, for lack of better words. So I've basically laid out an experience, but there are frameworks can explain to you how your location on the globe resonates with you and you specifically. And it's astrology based, and the name of it is astrocartography. It's about mapping a place that is most resonant or not resonant with you, and everything along the way along that spectrum. And it covers money, business, home, love, education, everything that life entails. And it's not an end all be all. It's not going to tell you everything about everything. Nothing will. But it's definitely a magnifying glass to look inside of yourself and understand reality a little bit more clearer. Just another layer of reality. And that's my video for now. Perhaps go deeper later. Thank you for watching. I love and appreciate you. You have a great one out there. Take care. Bye.